Mike's Daily Podcast.
Episode 1154. Hello, it's Mike Matthews, broadcasting from Cafe Anyway, located somewhere in Podcastro Valley, Mont. Today we hear from Chely Choehart, Floyd the Floorman, John Deere the engineer, plus the return of the informative segment where we'll learn something about something that happened called Matthews News.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
And I had a wonderful morning trying to get into my work.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
You have to have a good time when you're trying to get into a building where you work, because that's the place where you can twerk. And then you go inside. The front door seems to be an issue where it's caused me calamity. Because when I get to the front door, like yesterday, it wouldn't even open.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Today it opened, but not for my cohort who does the Marco Minute.
Mike's
So it seems
Daily
it's a selective door.
Podcast.
And then when I tried to use my pass to get in again, it would not let me in. So the very fact that I'm here at Cafe Anyway shows that I've given up. No more fighting to get into my work. I'm just gonna hang out here at Cafe Anyway all the day and tell you what I've done. Hours and hours upon hours of research, and I have found the most boring word in the entire universe. Would you like to know what it is? The most boring word is webinar. It should, whenever I see something like, hey, attend this webinar, which means you want me to attend my Weba computer and watch your Weba speech and your Weba lecture and get Weba bored. So thank you. No. I do not do webinars. You either show up in person to talk to me, or I'll show up in person to talk to you. But let's do the in-person thing, right? Hey, I watched the Pokemon Go trailer finally, after all this is finally starting to die out a little bit, and Pokemon Go Nintendo's getting sued finally. Hey, we're a big company that just incited a bunch of an entire age bracket to walk through and trespass and be annoying and disrespectful to all kinds of landmarks, places, and things. Thanks. Yeah, we should be sued. Oh, look who just walked in.
Hello, Mike Matthews. It's Chely Choehart, the gift shop supervisor. Hey, people that walk onto other people's property, they're like the bad ones. That Pokemon Go is wonderful.
You enjoyed Pokemon Go?
I enjoyed Pokemon Go. I played it all the time. I love Pokemon Go.
You know, Pokemon Go, I watched a trailer, and I saw like these characters, these big kind of cutesy computer animated characters, and it shows young, beautiful 20-somethings with their cell phones walking around, and then they're watching these big characters like fighting on top of some bridge over the River Seine in Paris. Like, you would rather be playing Pokemon Go instead of actually looking around you and seeing the beauty that is Paris, the city of lights. What the hell? I do not get that. Look who else just walked in. Oh, Mike, it's Floyd the Floorman! And this is John Deere, the engineer. Mike, Floyd, and I spent a romantic summer in Paris once. How nice! I would love to spend a romantic summer in Paris, probably with one of the pretty women I saw in the Pokemon Go ad. You know, it was then so somehow the trailer made no sense to me. Maybe the game would make more sense than the trailer did, but I did not get. Median parking is allowed now in Dolores. What? That makes me want to move to San Francisco right away and be in the most crowded city with the most smelliest people with all the urine everywhere. It does. But I miss San Francisco. I need to go visit again real soon. Actually, today's podcast picture is not of San Francisco, but someplace across the bay that many a woman took the ferry from San Francisco to have a job during World War II at the Rosie the Riveter factory. Let's take a look at the picture.
And here's today's podcast picture.
One day, I think this was in May, I walked Basil the Boxer in Richmond. We actually started at Point Isabel, which I've posted many a podcast picture of, and walked. It's an awesome place to take your dog. They can run around free, play with other dogs. It's great. Got a great view of San Francisco, Golden Gate Bridge, Alcatraz Bay Bridge. And we walked from there all the way over to the Richmond Marina. Very nice walk. And then we, right over there is the Rosie the Riveter factory. I'd never walked over there before, and that's a picture you can see there at mikesdailypodcast.com, where you can find all the past podcast pictures, past interviews that I've done with all kinds of interesting guests. And then also there is the PayPal. If you'd like to donate to the show, you'll get a special greeting from all the Cafe Anyway characters. And there's also the link to Amazon if you're going to click on that. And if you're going to buy anything on Amazon anyway, go through the link at mikesdailypodcast.com and you'll help support us. Someone that I worked for who got let go, found another job, talking on a conservative talk radio station, and he fits perfectly on it. I would go into his office and, before you knew it, we'd be talking politics, and he would have his definite conservative views. So he's fitting on a station in Modesto, and they're trying him out this week, but I think he should be on there full time, and he'll become the next big thing and replace Rush, which I'd be fine with. I think I've mentioned before that I knew Sean Hannity back when, Sean Hannity gone on to be this huge conservative talk show host, and I host a podcast. Who's the winner there? Anyway, we knew each other at KCSB, at UCSB, in Santa Barbara there. Well, it's actually in Goleta, but I was there getting my degree in communications. And I did in 1988. I worked a little bit at the radio station. I wanted to get a full-time show, but then meanwhile I was working at a commercial, one of those C words, that it was a top 40 station, playing the George Michael, the Jody Watley, I'm looking for a new love, baby, a new love. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Don't you love it when grown middle-aged men start singing songs from the 80s? Greg Proops does it all the time. He does such a good job with that. Where was I? Oh, yeah, so between Hannity and me, who was the winner?
Winning.
Me, obviously. So he went on to be a huge... I had no idea he was so conservative back then. He was just a nice guy. He was much thinner then, as we all were. And he was helping out painting the station, because they asked everyone to donate a little of their time doing something, and he was a painter by trade at the time, and he painted parts of the studio. But who cares about him? I can't stand watching his show. I can't stand his views. He back then was all about freedom and liberty, and little did I know that he meant that basically the only way America will be free is if anyone with a liberal point of view must be eradicated. Basically what he thinks, isn't it? He wants all the Pokemon Go players to jump into the ocean. No, I don't think he said that. But so, to sum up, Pokemon trailer, confusing. Webinar, boring word. Conservative talk show hosts, they're there. And you are there. Oh, it's time for News Random.
News Random.
Someone who helped inspire what would later become, well, the format is used so much on Fox News, CNN, CNBC, MSNBC, all those, where you have the bunch of people talking at each other. Only nowadays, everyone's in a different city, and they're staring straight at the camera. And, sports stations do this too, TV networks, where they're talking about a heated topic and looking right at the camera and going, this is what I think, and I don't know what. And then John McLaughlin was the guy. He was the guy that was the conservative political commentator and host of the McLaughlin Report, the McLaughlin Group, rather. He pioneered the Hollering Heads discussions of Washington politics. He's died. He was 89. He died yesterday morning, Tuesday morning. According to an announcement on, and this is interesting, his Facebook page, the McLaughlin Group, for the McLaughlin Group series. No cause of death was mentioned, but an ailing McLaughlin had missed the taping of this past weekend show. I did not know that he was still doing the show, and it was his first absence in the television show's 34 years. Back when it first started in the 80s, Dana Carvey, the comedian on Saturday Night Live, did a spoof of him. You have no idea what you're talking about. Yeah, and the shouting. And he would do his impression of him. Since its debut in April 1982, the McLaughlin Group upended the soft-spoken and non-confrontational style of shows, such as Washington Week in Review, with a raucous format that largely dispensed with politicians. It instead featured journalists. And then he also did quizzing. You're wrong, he would say. He would talk over, a lot of talking over. Yes, the talking over thing, which, I can't stand that. But that's all over the network news, the CNNs, Fox Newses, and everything. And sometimes the insulting each other, which has gone on to what we see a lot of on TV. In recent years, the show billed itself as the American original, a nod to all the shows that copied its format. John McLaughlin was a TV institution for generations of Americans, tweeted Nancy Pelosi. Well, oh my gosh. The guy that I know that went conservative talk show host, he rips Nancy Pelosi whenever he gets the chance. And of course, Hillary as well. In an interview, and then Pelosi also said, we will miss his contagious spirit and timeless dedication. In an interview with the Associated Press in 1986, McLaughlin said he felt talk shows hadn't kept pace with changes in television. He said, I began the group as a talk show of the 90s. And this was an interview in the 80s. He added that he thought informing an audience could be entertaining. The acquisition of knowledge need not be like listening to the Gregorian chant. Critics said the show was more about show business and entertainment than journalism and politics. They said it celebrated nasty posturing, and it abhorred complexity, and it featured a group of mostly aging conservative white men spouting off on topics they knew little about. What's his name? Pat Buchanan rose to popularity, got really popular being on that show, and would later run against George H. Walker Bush, and, he ran for president a couple of times. But the format was hugely successful, as McLaughlin himself might have said, on a probability scale from 0 to 10. On a probability scale from 0 to 10. 0 meaning zero probability, 10 meaning metaphysical certitude. In the show's heyday, the chances that the Washington establishment were faithfully tuning in each week was definitely a 10. As we go outside a cafe anyway, we're bringing Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcastro Valley. I hope you found today's show informative, entertaining, and not boring, not webinar. I hope it was like a webinar to you. But I'll let you go and play your Pokemon Go. Next show, it's going to be Benita, the Disgruntled Fiddle Player, and the Brewmaster. As the British say, ta!
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com. Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye.